And then let's also apply some classes here to our copyright line. So we have copyright and then the HTML entity, which is the copyright symbol right here. And then we have the little taco shop. Well, we want to wrap this in some span elements. Inside of this paragraph, so these lines do not break where we do not expect them to. We don't want the little taco shop, or we could just put little taco shop. We don't want this line to break. So let's put a span element here, and of course it generates the closing span element immediately. I'll put the closing paragraph tag on a separate line and paste the closing span afterwards. I'm going to do the same here too for copyright. I guess I need to create the element instead of just typing. Now let's give them both the class equal to no wrap, one of those utility classes we created that ensures that this line will not break in the middle of this content and this line will not break in the middle of this content. So that helps us by ensuring this presents itself in the way we want it to. This will not prevent it from being all on one line, but if we're on a smaller device and it needs to wrap the lines, it's going to break where we want it to and not in the middle of that content somewhere else. Let me go ahead and remove that extra line there. And then let's apply some styles to the footer, but we can also put this footer in each of the HTML pages. So after I save the index and copy the footer, I can go to the hours page and I can replace the footer that is here, and we will not need that HR, that horizontal rule, so I'll highlight it as well just to remove it when I paste that in. Let's do the same for the contact page and put that in here, paste and save, and then we'll also need to do that in the about page, but if you remember, the about page doesn't have everything else yet, so it doesn't even have a main element that we will be adding. But let's save this for now and now go back to the index. Now that we've updated the HTML for the footer, let's do the same for the main element. And this will not take much at all. Right now, we have a main element with no class, and as you can expect, we'll put a class equal to main here. And then here we have an article that has the ID of about. Well, this is going to be moved to the about page. So let's select this full article here down to the closing tag, and then I'll Control X. I'll go to the about.html, and this is going to go inside of a main element that will go to the about.html, and this is going to go inside of a main element that has the class of main. And you can see I created that with the image shortcut by typing main.main, and it instantly created the main element that has a class of main. Inside, we'll paste that article, which will be the content inside of this main element. Now, I'll save this much and we'll come back. But now let's go back to the index.html, where we need to label the article that's inside of this main element. So I'm going to highlight that HR and remove it as well. But now the article that's in here has an ID of menu, but it also needs to have some classes. And the first class we're going to apply here is going to be main _article. article, because each main element on each of these index pages in the project contains an article, if not more than one article. So we will label that, and we'll make sure that this is the only article that's inside the main. And if it's not, we will need to change it, but it looks like it is, and that's fine. It contains the menu, which we will come back to as well. But those are the two main classes that every HTML page in the project will need. So let's go to the hours now, scroll up to the main here, and it looks like it doesn't currently have an article, but we need to apply the class equal main. And to stay consistent here, let's go ahead and add an article element to this HTML page. So we have article. I will go ahead and cut out the closing tag and paste it above the closing main tag. And now let's give this the class that is expected as well. So it is main 2_ article, and save that. Now let's go to the contact page. And here in the contact page, you can see we have two sections and an H2. So let's go ahead and apply the class equal to main. And let's change these section elements to articles to stay consistent with the rest of the main content here. And you can see class equal to main. And let's change these section elements to articles to stay consistent with the rest of the main content here. And you can see we have opening and closing, and we have two section elements. So I'm going to press Control D, and I got the closing, Control D again to get the opening of the second one, and Control D one more time to get that closing. Tag. Now I can just type article once, and it changed all of those. But now I need to select just the opening article, so I'm going to select the full thing, including the less than and greater than sign. Control D again, and it just selects the opening article of the second one. The right arrow to get to the end, the left arrow wants to get just behind the word article. And now I can add a space, type class, and then set that equal to main 2_ and article. And now this should be applied to both. So we've got it here on the top article, and we've got it on the second article that is on the contact page. One other quick change to the contact page is I want to put our location information above the contact form. So let's Control X, and then just move up here above this article and paste in our other article. So we've just switched that information around. So now our location information with the telephone is on top and the contact form is on bottom. And finally, let's go to the About HTML, and you can see we have a class of main that we applied already, but now let's apply the same class here that is main 2_ and article. And save, because I believe, if I remember correctly, there was only one article for this page as well. So now we've made all the adjustments for the main element and the footer element on each of the HTML pages. Let's select the style.css file once again and pull our code over to the left so we can see the project on the right. And now we can continue to make some more changes. After we have styled the hero section, we're now ready for the footer section. So I'm going to put in a label in the style sheet for footer. And now we can apply those styles with the footer class. And here, this is going to be position sticky as well as the header, because we want it to stay in place. So the bottom will be 0, so that will put it directly at the bottom. And I'll save that much. And let's go ahead and scroll so we can see the footer down here. It's our copyright with copyright symbol and a little taco shop. Now let's go ahead and add a background color. And this background color will be the variable, and we'll just apply the header background color so it stays in sync with the header. And if I save, yes, it all turns black. So we need to, of course, apply the color. And this should be the header color as well. And we can save that, and now we see the font is white there on top of the black background. Let's apply some padding, as it looks pretty scrunched right now. So we'll say padding top and bottom. We are using that shorthand again, so the next one would be padding side. And now we'll go ahead and save that. So there's just a little extra padding around that. And now let's put text align and set that. That to center and save. And so now we can see our copyright with the copyright symbol and the little taco shop is centered, and we have our footer across the bottom. It stays in place when we scroll, as does the header. I'm going to copy this heading we put in here for the footer, and then I'm going to scroll up and put in a very similar heading for the main element. So I want all caps again to make that change. After that, let's directly style that main class first. And speaking of copying, going to get the same padding that we had here. So I'll just copy that and put that in for the main. And when we save, we'll see we get a little extra space here with our menu. Our menu is not looking so great right now. And it's one of the last things we'll do. So let's start looking at some of these other pages. The hours look pretty good. They got got just a little bit of extra space from that padding, or the about has a little more information on it as well, and so we can see some of that there. Let's go back to the hours for now. Okay, after we've applied that basic padding to the main element itself, we have the main _article class, and here let's apply a scroll-margin-top, and this will be 6.5 rems. You usually have to play around with this value to see what works based on your project and how much space possibly your nav is taking up, because what this is going to do is enable the article information to show instead of scrolling underneath the header. And then let's set a margin here, and we'll just use our bar and margin and save. Now this is something we actually would see back on the home page. Now if we choose menu and it scrolls, well, we're not on a device right now that would actually use up the page, or we haven't expanded this menu to take up more room. But what will happen will it will prevent the menu from scrolling underneath this header if we have a taller menu or we're taking up more room. By the time we have finished the styles, that's probably what will happen. Okay, a couple of extra things to put now, and one of these at least we'll see differently on maybe the contact page, because it has some extra room here already. So let's go ahead and apply these styles. Let's say main, and we'll select the article as well. And now let's say the first child pseudo selector. And we'll give this a margin-top of 1 EM. So this would be the first child that we would see here, the first article, and that would be the same on any page. It gives us just a little more room between that hero image and the rest. And now I'm going to copy this down. So Shift Alt and the down arrow, add the extra space, and this will be for the last child. And we do have a one page that has two different children, and that has our location and the contact form. So for this last child, we want to calculate some height here. So let's say min-height. We're going to calculate. We'll take 100 VH, which would be 100 width, or 100 height, pardon me, of what is available. Now let's just subtract 20 rems from that and save. To give it just a little extra. extra room to scroll. And this might be more visible when we don't have as much content, such as, well, the About page has some. If we go to the Hours page, let's see, now we have some extra room here as well. So if we remove this and then save, we don't have that extra room. It's kind of scrunched. It's nice to have that extra scrolling room, and that's why that is being applied. So again, preference, as a lot of CSS is a preference. Now we have just a little extra room there for the scroll. Scroll. And now we're ready to move on to individual page sections. I'm going to drag VS Code back over to full screen. I'll scroll up here and copy the main comment divider that we have, or label, if you will. And here I'm going to switch this to About and save. So we'll start in on our About page in the About section. I'm going to do something different here that some may agree with or may not agree with BEM, but I don't want to refer to the main as the parent for the About information. I want the word About there, so we know it's on the About page. So I'm going to add another class here that is just called About, and that goes to the article. So then what I refer to inside of this article, instead of referencing main as the parent, I'm going to reference About. It just makes more sense to me for these classes in particular. And I've only got a couple to apply, but I want class About, and then I'm going to use 2_ trivia, and then on the paragraph that has the answer, I'm going to say class and then equals, and this will be About answer. So we have About trivia and About answer. And even better than that, I think I might put the word trivia here as well. So trivia dash answer, it's just a 2-word label, but that makes more sense to me as well. So we've got About trivia and About trivia answer. And I did want 2_ there as well. So there we go. Now let's switch back to the style CSS and put those classes in here. So we'll have our About, 2_ and trivia. Remember, I put an About class in there, but I don't really have any styles in addition to apply there. I just wanted to refer to that About class as the parent. And so we'll leave it at that. Margin will be that variable that we defined for a margin. And then for the About trivia answer. So we'll have About, 2_ trivia dash answer. And here we're going to set a margin dash top equal to 1M and save. Let's pull this over and see those changes applied to the About. So here we go. And see, we've got a little extra space here too, which also helps our scroll. And then when we show the answer, that is nicely formatted as well. Moving on to the contact form. So I will focus on that, and let's scroll up to see this content that we have on this page. We definitely have enough height here, and we have 2 different articles. Working with forms can be difficult, but let's see how we can apply the styles here. I'm going to put in a new label in our style sheet, and I will put contact right here, and then let's scroll up to make that the very top of the page. And now let's start off with our contact 2_ and H2, but I don't believe we've applied these classes yet. So let's drag this over to full screen, look at our contact page, and see what classes we need to apply to the rest of this HTML. I'm going to leave the address as is. It needs no further classes. However, the contact form itself does. And I'm going to apply that same philosophy that I did to the About page, where I have main article, but I don't want to refer to the main element as the parent. I want to refer to contact. So I'm going to put a contact class here at the beginning for the article. Now for the H2, I'm going to put class, and I'm going to set that equal to contact 2 underscores and H2. Likewise, for the form, we can make this a contact form. So I'll put class equals contact 2 underscores and form. We'll do the same for the field set. I'm going to start copying this, so I just have to change the one word. And instead of contact form, this would be contact field set. And now for the legend, we're not going to apply that class, but we're just going to put this off screen. And we already have a utility class for that. So this class will be off screen. For the P here, we'll go ahead and put in this contact form once again, but we're just going to change the word form to P for paragraph. But we're just going to put this off screen, and we already have a utility class for that. So this class will be off screen. For the P here, we'll go ahead and put in this contact form once again, but we're just going to change the word form to P for paragraph. And it looks like I should have selected the full element and then the next one as well. And now I'll arrow to the end, one arrow to go inside, and paste in this class. And now I can change both at the same time and put in the P for paragraph. Save. Now we need to do something similar for the label. So let's go ahead and select all 3 of the labels, and then we can arrow to the end, paste in our class, and then once again arrow over, change form, and change this to contact label. Now let's do this for the inputs. So I'll select the first one, Control D, and there are only 2 inputs, so that's all we need. Arrow to the right, and paste in the class, and then change the contact form once again. And I shouldn't have done that, but now I can Control D to select it as well. And then we have contact input as well. But now we're going to have a contact text area. So I just need to paste that in and switch this to text area. And I believe, nope, there's one more, and that would be the button. And we have 2 buttons. So Control D to select the second one, arrow to the right to be at the end, paste this in, and this class is contact button. So Control D to select both of those. Now that we've applied all of the classes that we're going to use in the form, let's go back to the style sheet and drag it back to the left, and we'll be looking at the form here on the right. For the H2, we're simply going to set the margin to 0 and save that. Now the field set. And notice the label of the field set is already gone because we applied, or the legend, because we applied that off screen, so it no longer had the contact as words here. But we'll put in contact 2 underscores and field set. and this will be a border of none. So it will just remove that look, even though the field set is still there. After that, contact 2 underscores paragraph. Here we'll set a margin to 1 em on the top and bottom, 0 on the left and the right. That gives us some more space. We can certainly tell that difference. Then the contact 2 underscores label. Here we'll say display of block and font weight of bold, and we'll definitely see these changes. Makes our form look better as well. Now we'll select both the contact 2 underscores input and the contact 2 underscores text area. For this, we'll say padding is 0.5 em. You can save, and we'll see some change there. The inputs got a little larger. Then we'll say a border dash radius of 15 pixels. Save, and you can see they're rounded. I'm going to scroll now that the form has grown a little larger so we can see everything again. Okay, after the border radius, we're going to have a border dash width of 2 pixels to just make it a little larger around each of the inputs, and then a width of 100%, and save. And now those inputs take up the full width that they have. Available to them. Our buttons down here still need a little bit of help, so let's say contact 2 underscores button. Now we'll say padding 0.5 M for those and save. We can see the padding gets a little larger for those now. And then we'll apply a border radius to match the other border radius, 15 pixels. And this should possibly be a variable that I have not created, but that would allow us to just change it in one place, and it would change it for the form as well as the button. Underneath that, we should have border width and, oh, not border width on the buttons, I'm sorry. Let's have a background color. Let's say bar, and let's pick that highlight color so we can have a different color on these buttons. That looks good, except the font doesn't look so great there. So for the var, let's say the header color, and that should turn that white and make it stand out just a little bit more. Those buttons definitely look better than they did before. So a quick check, let's take the border radius property and Control C, and then I'm going to do Control F to search for it, and let's see. How many times it has occurred. It's just twice here inside of our project. So if you wanted to, you could absolutely make a contact border radius variable, and then you would just change it in one spot, and of course the form, the inputs, and the buttons would match. But you don't have to. I did not clearly at this point, but that would be an option. So now before moving on to the menu, let's look at each section that we've already styled for our page. And here's the full page. So our About page has a nice huge hero image, and we see the About LTS, some information, and our taco trivia. That looks good. The Hours page, another nice hero section, and a simple bit of information about the hours. And let's look at the Contact page. We scroll down, we see our location information after the hero and the contact form as well. So that all looks good. I think the menu is still going to need some work, and we might apply another style or two yet that we haven't, but we're making a lot of good progress. Let's go ahead and Control-Shift-I to see how everything's looking in a mobile device as well. So maybe we can choose Fit to Window, and we see this iPhone 6, 7, and 8. Let's look at the iPhone 5, and that also looks good. Let's reload and see how that animation works. That works as well. So yes, the menu needs some help, but how do the other pages look? Oh, the other pages still say the Little Taco Shop hours instead of just Little Taco Shop or something similar. And again, we're on the smallest device that we might ever see right now, which is the iPhone 5 SE. Things may have changed in the future, of course, if you're viewing this at a later time. So here, it wraps to 2 lines on the header, but anything larger than the absolute smallest device, it looks like it won't. As long as we adjust our headers here, instead of say the Little Taco Shop hours, we can just say Little Taco Shop here. It just says contact us. And on the About page, once again, it just says Little Taco Shop. I think we want our header to be consistent and say Little Taco Shop no matter which page we go to. So let's go ahead and make those changes as well in the HTML as we go back to the code. So I'm going to close this back out, drag this back to the right, and bring the code over to the full screen. Quickly